في صحراء نيومكسيكو الشمالية العليا كنز مخبأ بين الجروف الصخرية البيضاء والهضاب الحمراء. إنها مدينة برية كانت الديناصورات تجول فيها. تكتنف هذه الأرض الغامضة طاقة تفوق الواقع. هنالك جو روحاني غريب، تنبع هذه الروح من دار الإسلام. تذوب قباب مسجد دار الإسلام والمدرسة قشدية اللون في هذا المنظر الطبيعي البديع. أنشئ هذا المجمع العام 1979 وكان جزءا من أول مجتمع أمريكي مسلم منظم. تقع القرية بالقرب من مدينة أبيكيو الصغيرة. بها محطة وقود واحدة ومكتب بريد واحد ومكتبة صغيرة تفتح فقط في أوقات محددة. وبها كنيسة كاثوليكية تاريخية مصممة بأسلوب شبيه بطراز مسجد دار الإسلام. لأميال يوجد دير ومعسكر مسيحي. طالما اعتبر الأمريكيون هذا الجزء من بلدهم مصدرا يشع بالسلام والتأمل.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Umar Abdulaziz, and I embraced Islam in 1969.
من أنزل الأمطار وفجر الأنهار وأنبت الأزهار تزخرف الجبال، من ينشر الصباح ويرسل الرياح ويملأ البطاح برزقه الحلال. الله الله الله
I was raised in New York, in the Bronx, and I felt the time with my children, I wanted to get them out of New York City, and I had a sister that lived in Santa Fe, so I came to Santa Fe with my two older boys, who were 9 and 10 at the time, and I lived in Santa Fe with my sister, and I really enjoyed it, and I liked it, but I wasn't able to find any work. So I was ready to leave, and one day I picked up the newspaper, and on the front page there was an article about the mosque in Abiquiu, and the foundations were being dug. So the next day I borrowed my sister's truck, and I drove up to Abiquiu, and I met the brothers that were working on the project, and I asked them if I could work. I needed work, and they hired me, and the next day I went up to Abiquiu and brought my sons and all my belongings, which is a couple of suitcases, and we stayed at a campsite behind the mosque, and we lived in under those conditions for the whole summer, and we enjoyed it so much. My boys really enjoyed it, and it was a wonderful experience.
The seeds of Dar al-Islam started really in the late 1970s, when a group of American converts were living in the Santa Fe area. And in those days it was quite different than nowadays, where in most cities you have either a mosque or an Islamic center or an Islamic school. In those days there was very few of those around. So this group of converts, they really wanted to have a place of their own to pray and things like that. And when one of the families went to Saudi Arabia to study for a couple of years, they met there a Saudi man who was the first Saudi graduate from American University. And he felt so grateful for what he had experienced here and the generosity of the American people that he wanted to give something back. And in his mind, being Muslim, something back, the best would be something Islamic. So when he heard that this group was looking to purchase a place to build a mosque, he offered to give a down payment to put on the land, and then also he went and knocked on the doors of his friends to raise more funds, so that not only were we able to make a down payment, but we were able to purchase some land and start the building of the mosque.
So it was that we began this project in approximately 1980. And I came close to the beginning to contribute and also bring my family here to live, and my children to be schooled in our school, the school that we built here, and to try to practice the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him.
In order for us to get a permit to build this, which was very unfamiliar to the officials in the state, the construction officials, we had to apply for an experimental permit. And once we had built a few of the domes and the vaults, we had to engage a structural engineer who load tested those vaults and domes, and after they came through with flying colors, so to speak, the state issued us a permanent permit to finish the construction of this facility.
There was a number of workers that lived in a campsite just over the hill from the mosque, and we had set up tents and lean-tos and called the Ramada, which was a little cooking area. We put a sink in there, and we had some running water, and we had a propane stove, and each of us took turns in preparing meals. And we would get up for the Fajr prayer in the morning, make breakfast, and then walk over the hill to work. Sometimes we started at 7 in the morning, other times at 8, and we had a full day until 5, 6 in the evening, depending on what was going on the work site.
Hassan Fatih, the well-known Egyptian architect, had published a book, Architecture for the Poor, which was mainly about using adobe mud for building structures, not only for the walls but also for the roofs. So we were familiar with that book, and adobe construction is a very ancient building technique in this part of the world. So when we heard about him, we contacted him and proposed to him that he design the mosque and the main building, which he gladly did, and that's how we ended up with a building that looks very much like North African style, which was designed by Hassan Fatih himself.
So we were trained originally in the early going by Egyptian master masons to show us the procedures and the techniques and the right ways of doing the arches and the domes and the walls and everything about this type of building.
We held, I think, a 1 week or a 2 week open seminar where everybody who wanted to learn how to build domes and vaults was welcome to participate and learn from those old masons. And Hassan Fatih then came for the opening of the mosque also. After it was built, he visited and was present at the opening of the facility.
The mosque was the first structure or first mosque in America to be built with adobe bricks. So there was many people from New Mexico came to learn this building technique from the Egyptian master masons, and such as from building the arches to the domes and then to the vaults.
We modified sometimes slightly the building of the arches and domes, especially the arches and the vaults, by using forms, which the Egyptians did not require, because their mud that they used was much easier to hold the bricks in place. our mud, we could not attain that amount of stickiness. So we used forms in place and then dropped them quickly after we had the arches and vaults built with the bricks that we had made by adobe makers in a nearby town. And we learned, many of us learned of the traditional ways of building with adobe that runs throughout North Africa and other areas of the Muslim world and areas of the non-Muslim world that uses the ground from the earth to build their homes. So the first dome we built was on the mosque here that has little domes, smaller domes, that are called pendantive.
And then today, you may drive around New Mexico and you'll see a little dome building by the side of the road or on someone's property. And it probably came from someone who was at that building lesson. It was a great idea because all the people that came pitched in to help build also. So it was, each one was rewarded. One was learning, and we were, the ones building the mosque, we were getting the labor help from these people. So, and I met many people that I normally would never have met in my life.
The larger dome is called a squinch dome. And the squinch dome is different from the pendantive in that it uses small arches and half of domes in the corners to bring the square space into round. And then domes always tend to leave a hole at the top from the way that they are built, as they are built in rows, row by row, that are well placed and wedged tightly together, so that as gravity pulls down upon them, they cannot fall, can last for hundreds of years.
He was actually quite interested in the skill level of available labor in the area. And when he heard that still a lot of people were familiar with adobe construction, that made it a lot easier for him to communicate with the people who were supposed to build this about, you know, what he wanted.
I met beautiful, wonderful people, and part of the work crew, a good percentage of the work crew were people that lived in the village of Abiquiu. So it was a very mixed group of people that were on the work, doing the work. And I had met people, Muslims from all over America and Europe and Turkey and parts of the Arab world working on this project.
في أيام البناء كان الحرفيون يتوقفون لأداء صلاة الجماعة خلال يوم العمل.
The workforce who built this masjid and the rest of the main building were local people mainly. Some of them were Muslim, others were non-Muslim, but Christian people from the valley. And we also had at least 1 or 2 American Indians who participated in the construction. And so it was a very multicultural group who built this facility.
That in order to build the structures with the manpower required, brothers from faraway places and nearby came to attempt to stay and live and work upon this project, as well as we also offered the local young